Welcome on in, guys. Three bold takes, and this is a video that honestly, I was not, and I think I speak for all three of the guys on this show, was not prepared to make at any point in time soon here. But here we are. Today is the 11th of January, 2024. Yesterday, the greatest college football coach of all time, Nick Saban, announced he is retiring from Alabama after 17 years with the university. And it came as a shock, right? I mean, it absolutely took over Twitter, or X, whichever you prefer. It just literally broke the internet when it comes to football in the country, really, not just Alabama, not just the South, the entire country. And before we kind of move, into who can replace Saban, that'll be a whole different video. We kind of want to focus this video on a couple of things. Number one, his accomplishments, and number two, our favorite memories and what he's meant to the game of college football and the University of Alabama. So real quick, I'm gonna run through a couple of numbers for you um, uh, of his career, and that includes 297 total wins, which is just absolutely remarkable. 128 consecutive weeks ranked in the AP top 10 from 2015 to 2013. 123 total draft picks from Alabama since 2009. That's crazy in and of itself. That just shows the amount of product he was able to push through the university. 87% win percentage at Alabama. He is 11 and 2 all time in the SEC title game, 44 first round picks from Alabama, 19 combined bowl wins and playoff wins. And oh, by the way, if you didn't know, he's won 7 national championships, 6 at Alabama. So, unparalleled career. Chase, let's swing it over to you first. Immediate thoughts and your favorite memory or something that you'll take away from Saban.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing with this is just how he left Alabama. Coming in, the brand of Alabama was nowhere near where it is today to be a top five program in college football. At that point, when he took it over, it was, man, can we stay afloat? Can we get more than six, seven? It was Missouri. It was a Florida currently. It was Arizona State kind of. It was a middling program that had some decent memories, but nothing in the current state. And then Nick Saban comes in and just totally changed the culture, the program, and everything about it. Recruited players that started with Alabama first, recruited Alabama the state, and then expanded, and then also leaving the legacy of college coaches everywhere. Like goodness, Freddie just mentioned some accomplishments, but we're not even talking about the coaching tree that he has that is absolutely integrated into every part of the country in almost every single conference too at different positions. So I think Alabama it's man, it's like the death of a president today, the day after. You're mourning that loss, and it's one of the not even best coaches of all time, just a great human being. And that leads me into my memory. My memory for me is when he goes on the rant. It's not about what he did on the field. For me, it's about what he did off the field. He goes into this rant about a player that he had at Michigan State, Muhsin Muhammad, and he explains how everybody was trying to tell him, "Hey, just kick the kid off the team." And Saban decided not to do that, kept the kid. Kid is a CEO of a company. He's a 15-year NFL vet, 7 kids. Just changed his whole life because Saban was there and was a leader. And I think that's the biggest thing to me. It's yeah, as an Alabama fan, as a fan of college football, 6, 7 national championships. Wow, insane. But man, the leader that he was, the culture that he built, the way he grew players, and then also created different staffs that have just elevated the game as a whole in a 17-year period. Like he himself has changed college football for the better, has changed the landscape because of what he's done for the players, the staff around the country that he's helped get into new positions and do stuff. The rehabilitation program he's had for some coaches that have went out and now are successful head coaches elsewhere. Just absolutely astonishing to see what he's done off the field. And if you could put those into accolades and accomplishments, I think he would have far more championships off the field and how he was a human being than he did on the field. When
Yeah, when the news broke, it kinda shook me pretty hard, and it's not just because, like, I'm an Alabama fan, we're open about our fandom on here. It's more so what it meant for me as a football fan in general. Like, the first football game I ever watched as a child was, the Colts-Bears Super Bowl, alright? And then the first full season of a football team that I followed as a fan of a team was Alabama in 2007. So, the 3 players that made me, like, fall in love, or I guess one's a coach and 2 are players, but the 3 figures in the sport that made me fall in love with the sport were Peyton Manning, Jeff Saturday, and Nick Saban. And, for me, the news of his retirement hit the same as when Peyton retired after Super Bowl 50, except it hit a little harder because now none of the people that, like, made me fall in love with the sport are involved in the sport in a, like, very hands-on capacity. I think obviously there's talk about what he might do for the rest of his, like, time on the planet and around the sport, but it won't be as hands-on as actually coaching a team or playing in a game. Uh, Man, y'all mentioned what he did for the program, Chase. You were giving examples. For those of y'all listening, I think the absolute best example you can give for what Alabama was when he showed up is what Nebraska is right now. Like a program that can look back to their distant past and it's just absolute dominance. But for the last 20 years, they've been mediocre at best, and people are just convinced you can't win at that program anymore, despite the fact that if you start winning there, you'll make money hand over foot because it kind of owns the whole state. So, like, yeah, it's not this mega, like, national brand, but anything will become national when you win with it. The
yeah.
the key is how strong is the core you have with it. And in the state of Alabama, like everybody roots for some college football team, and most of them root for Alabama. And Nebraska's the same way in the state of Nebraska. Um, my favorite Saban memory, it's not involved with sport like with football like at all. When I was a junior going into my senior year of high school, I was invited to Alabama Boys State, which is like a thing where like kids get to come and learn how the government of the state works and get involved in that process, like a mock government type deal for a weekend. And it was held at the University of Alabama. And it was like the third or fourth day of the event. Our guest speaker was Saban, and there was no cameras allowed or anything like that, so I couldn't give the clip or give you exact like to the word what he said. But the gist of the speech was the same stuff you hear him talk about all the time about the dedication and the passion to like daily work, not focusing on exactly what you want. Like, don't be goal oriented, be like day to day process oriented. And it's one thing to hear him say it in a video or to watch it be covered. It's a whole nother thing when you're sitting in a closed room and the doors are shut and the lights are down and the only thing you can see is him, and it feels like he's looking into every single person while he's talking about it. He's talking so calm and so like sincere that you believe every word that man would say. It was insane, man. And like the command he had over a room, like everyone, and like you can imagine, it's a room full of like 17-year-old kids. Like nobody's paying attention to anybody the whole time. There's some big speakers up there in the world of like politics and government that were up there talking to us, and people would just ignore him. He got up there, the whole room was silent for 60 minutes, listening to every word that he said. It was, I don't know, that memory will stick with me for a lifetime. It's definitely stuff I've used in my day to day ever since I had it. Like, because I used to be obsessed with where something was going to go. Now I understand that really I need to be obsessed with what I'm doing each day, and where I want to go will come with that. And like, I know it sounds cliche, but I'm telling you, that was the biggest moment for me in regards to his career. If you want a specific football related thing that I'll never forget, It's the press conference after Georgia Southern with the triple option game, like ran all over him, and he had they run through us like shit through a tin horn quote. Easily the best Nick Saban quote like of all time. Uh, but yeah, the Boys State speech definitely the best memory for me.
Yeah, so Quinn, interesting enough, sort of similar for me. If you guys watched the Josh Pate video, he Saban used to do the Crimson Caravan tours, and one came to Florence, and my best friend at the time, his name's Spencer, his granddad was a real big booster. Well, something with the University of Alabama, so he got a whole table for us and everything, and invited me and my dad out, and very similar to hear that conversation, and him preach the process, and it was something that is very contrary to what other people talk about, and what other people try to strive to do. So that was very impactful, but also I got to meet him, right? So like you get to shake hands with him, in a line and get a picture and whatnot. And my dad has that in his house, and I'll never forget. I think I was probably 11 years old at the time. Real short guy for my age. Still am short if you guys know me in person. Um, Quinn, I see you nodding. I don't like that, but no, just kidding. But shook his hand, and he said, "Son, do you play football?" And I was like, "Yes, sir." And he was like, "Well, maybe you can play for me one day." And it was just something that was just funny to hear, because it's like never in my life would I ever have a chance to play for the University of Alabama and play for him because of my size, and I knew it at the time. And let's be real, he knew it at the time, but it was just like that speaks to his character, right? He loves to try to build people up instead of tear them down. Now, sometimes in order to build people up, you have to get on them a little bit, and he's not shy of doing that whatsoever. Um, Quick story that comes to mind for that: Rob Ezel, he played football with my brother at Athens from my hometown. He has the famous video where he's imitating Nick Saban, that's floating around here yet again on Twitter. So that's a cool memory as well, because Saban took it lightheartedly, unlike a lot of coaches probably would. Um, but yeah, man, just that there's a lot of memories football wise, but I think that those two kind of speak more to who he is rather than just, seeing him win a national championship, or, seeing him, chew out Lane Kiffin or something like that. It's just a fun thing to think about. Well, guys, I appreciate you watching, and Chase and Quinn, they appreciate you watching as well. And thank you guys for joining in. And we'll have a video soon on replacements, right? So that should be an interesting video. But if this is your first time, please subscribe. Stay a little bit longer. Why not? We post college football videos every single week, including in the off season. So I appreciate you guys watching on this day that we will never forget.